I'm Ashton Cover with Lake Shore Cryotronics, and this will be a shortcut video of the MeasureLINK-MCS software. In this MeasureLINK scripting tutorial, we will be exploring the layout of the scripting environment as well as learning the basics of scripting. And although scripting isn't required in order to take measurements through the use of the sequence pane and the pre-installed scripts, the scripting aspect of MeasureLINK is what allows the user to have full control and flexibility over their measurements. And these user-made scripts can be packaged up into a friendly UI that other users can use. You can open up a new script by opening the scripting window from the home pane. And in the scripting window, you're going to find 5 main sections. The top ribbon, which contains a variety of tools used when scripting, the debugging pane, where your script can print to the console, the script editor window, and the bottom tab to switch between the data acquisition script, the UI script, and notes. And there is also a results pane, which will appear on the right-hand side after you run a script, and that can display results such as charts, tables, and reports. So we're going to begin by exploring the functions of the top ribbon. So in the top ribbon, you'll find the start and stop buttons for executing your code. You'll also find the step over, step out, and step into buttons for use in debugging so you can step through your code. We'll find the export CSV button, which will become available after you run a measurement and allows you to export your data to another software. Then we'll also find the check syntax button, which can check your syntax before you actually run a script. And next, we'll find some other tools used when editing your script, such as the undo, unindent, indent, comment, and uncomment buttons. So now over here, we're going to find the edit device references button, which we'll use if you want to reference a hardware device in your script. And then we'll find the clear result button, which will clear the current measurement results from the results pane. And then finally, we'll get to the scripting question mark button, which will give you access to many different tools such as the user's guide and the API reference. And this API reference is very helpful, and it contains full explanations of the MeasureLINK classes, objects, and it provides lots of example code. So moving down to the script editor / bottom tab area. So in every single MeasureLINK script, there are really 2 fundamental scripts, the data acquisition script and the UI settings script. So in the data acquisition script, this is where all of your calculations, commands, and calls to the instruments go. And in the UI settings script, this is where you can design a text box where the user can enter experiment parameters before a script is run. And the data acquisition script can call parameters from the UI settings script. So we're now going to do a small demonstration in the data acquisition script to show some of the fundamental techniques of writing a script. So we're going to switch to the data acquisition script. So in this script, we're going to go ahead and try to create 2 variables. We're going to initialize them. We're going to create a 3rd variable, which is going to multiply the first 2 variables, and then we're going to print that to the debug line. So let's go ahead and write that out. All right, so now that we've written out this code, in order to run it, we can first check the syntax by clicking the check syntax button. And there were no syntax errors, so we can go ahead and run it. So we'll click start. We can name our file. We're just going to name it this for now. And we'll see that 6 was printed out in the debug line. Now let's say that we wanted to debug this script. So we can actually click on the gray bar to the left-hand side of the script to create a breakpoint at a given line. So let's go ahead and click right here. And at this point, when we run the script is going to stop before it gets to this line. So let's go ahead and run it, and the script has stopped at this line. So at this point, we can actually use the step over command up here if we want to step through our code line by line. So let's go ahead and step over through this function. And you can see that 6 was still printed. Now another technique of debugging is that when we're at a breakpoint, we can also examine the values of a given variable. So let's go ahead and stop this function and run it again. And it is stopped at the breakpoint. So at this breakpoint, we can actually type into the debugging window question mark followed by brackets of the variable we want to look at. So let's go ahead and look at x. We press enter, and we get 2. Now let's see if we want to find y, question mark, brackets of y, enter, and we get 3. But now let's take a step back and ask, what if we wanted the user to be able to modify the x and y variable values from the user interface? So we can actually use the UI settings script that we talked about earlier to make a UI that takes in parameters and passes them to the data acquisition script. So let's go ahead and go to the UI settings script. So in this UI settings script, we can start by typing script.startGroup, which will create a UI text box in which a user can enter in parameters for the script. Next, we're going to go ahead and type script.separator to create a separator inside this UI box. And then we're going to create a parameter in which a user can enter in the value. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so at this point we have created a UI text box that contains 2 points in which a user can enter in a number that can be passed into the data acquisition script. So now we can switch over to the data acquisition script. At the beginning, when we initialize x and y, instead of just using values that we put inside the script, such as 2 and 3, we're going to fetch the values from the numeric text box by typing this in. And you remember that all of these functions can all be found documented in the API reference. So in order to run this script in the scripting window, we're going to first switch to the UI settings script, and we're going to run it. So now you can see that over in this right-hand side, we can see the numeric text box in which the user can enter in their parameters. And when the script would be run inside the sequence pane, this would show up in the right-hand side. So let's go ahead and enter parameters such as 5, and we're going to enter, let's try 10. Now we can switch over to the data acquisition script and click run. And you can see that in the debugging pane, 50 was printed. So that will do it for this shortcut video of the MeasureLINK-MCS software. And to learn more about MeasureLINK or scripting, please see our additional videos.